Hey everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora and in today's video we're going to go over the big brain gamer HIKO and how he's earned the title of the clutch master in Valorant. For those who only heard of him from Valorant, HIKO was already renowned for his clutches back when he was playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive professionally, and his clutching skills have obviously translated to Valorant. We're going to go over the most iconic clutches that HIKO has pulled off in Valorant and show you the tips and tricks that he uses to make these clutches possible. Without further ado, let's get into the video. We're going to start off today's video with our question of the day. With today's video being about clutches, which agent do you feel has the highest clutch potential? HIKO is a very versatile player and has clutched with nearly every agent in Valorant, but that's because he's HIKO doing HIKO things. There are agents that are arguably better at clutching out rounds, and we want to hear what you guys think on which agents those are. So make sure to drop a comment on the agent you feel has that clutch factor. First up, one thing that HIKO does a really good job of in his clutches is reading the situation. When trying to clutch up a round, being able to understand what is going on and what circumstances are required to win are absolutely necessary. By taking a look at what the situation is, HIKO is able to identify a game plan that gives him the ability to clutch. An example of this is in 100 Thieves' match versus TSM, where HIKO is in a 1 vs 3 situation. If we take a look at the current situation, HIKO has his ultimate, so he knows he can play further back to stall anyone who decides to defuse. This is the obvious point, but HIKO also takes into consideration the noise that's around him. He hears Cutler pushing up close and knows he can't stay back and use his ultimate if a player is nearby during the defuse. Because of this, HIKO knows he has to go in for the peek against Cutler and win the duel in order to have a chance at the round. He successfully does this, and now in a 1 vs 2 and having just seen Cutler go for the pick, HIKO knows that it's unlikely that someone else is chasing him, so now he activates Hunter's Fury to get the diffuser off the spike. HIKO's ultimate actually ends up being perfect, where he's able to land all 3 shots to end up killing both remaining TSM members. It's this sort of situation reading that allows HIKO to clutch this round and many more throughout his career. Coming up with a game plan based on the current circumstances is key to giving yourself a fighting chance for the clutch. This next tip is a follow-up to our first, but another area that HIKO does very well on in his clutch situations is gathering as much information as possible. When you're in a 1 vs X situation, it's near impossible to win a round if you don't know where the enemy players are located. Without this information, you're likely a sitting duck running aimlessly, and eventually you're going to get picked off from a position you weren't ready for. Gathering information is crucial not only for clutching a round, but for winning rounds in general. This is why agents such as Sova are so popular in competitive play currently, because of the insane amount of intel that they can provide to the team. We have a fantastic clip of HIKO fully utilizing Sky's abilities to gather information and clutch out this round. He starts off throwing Sky's flashes to see if he can get a sound cue off of it to indicate where a player is. Unfortunately, he gets nothing out of it, but the flash actually baits an enemy player to peek out individually, and HIKO wins that duel. From there, HIKO continues to grab information by using Seekers, forcing Sova to shoot it and reveal his position. HIKO is now able to methodically peek into him and finish him off, leaving him in a 1 vs 1 situation. At this point, HIKO knows that his second Seeker went towards the site, so he has a general idea of where the final player is. HIKO uses Trailblazer to try to find the last player's location, and unfortunately doesn't find the player, but the idea of gathering information was there, and it did still narrow down the possibilities of where the enemy could be, and HIKO finishes things off with an insane flick shot. Had HIKO ran in dry to the B site, he likely would have gotten crossfired and lost the round, but by taking his time to get enemy intel that helped isolate his battles, HIKO came out on top and got the dub. Moving on, HIKO is one of the best clutch players because he's insanely good at isolating 1 vs 1 duels. When trying to clutch a round, you have to try to fight individual battles or you end up at an insane disadvantage. Once the enemy has a crossfire setup or peeks you in cohesion, it's essentially a lost cause for the round. You can see in this clip against TSM that HIKO actively looks for multiple 1v1s during the clutch. Hayes' location was identified already, so he was the first 1 vs 1 target. From there, HIKO heard Wardell flanking and sets up for his next 1 vs 1, which he ends up winning by baiting Wardell to peek with fake shots that he threw in middle. From there, he's already turned a 1 vs 4 into a 1 vs 2, and now he moves on to the A site and slowly peeks his angles to find another 1 vs 1 duel, and sure enough, he finds it against Phoenix and wins it again. This leaves just 1 player remaining, and HIKO actively tries to find his location and succeeds. After jiggling around Cat, he gets the surprise duel and wins it. You can see in this follow-up clip where HIKO 1 vs 3s the enemy team. 1 player is planning, so HIKO actively seeks the other 2 players to 1 vs 1. Again, the 1 vs 1 was found against Raze, and HIKO hears the zipline used, so he knows the second player that isn't planning is above him, and he quickly goes for that duel as well before the planer finishes planning the spike. At this point, it's 1 vs 1 again, and HIKO knows his position and goes for the fight early to prevent the enemy from repositioning, and he wins it out. If you give HIKO individual duels, he's very likely to win it with his insane mechanics, and this is essentially how many clutches are created. You have to isolate players out, and if you're successful in doing so, you give yourself the best odds of clutching up the round. With that being said, if you watch some of HIKO's streams, you'll know that he takes the time to master the abilities of the agent he mains. Each agent in Valorant has unique tricks that you can do with the agent that the enemy may or may not know and expect. A couple examples include Jet's dash updraft combo or raises double satchels while using the show stomper. These are a bit trickier to learn, but there's also simpler agent tricks that HIKO does to outsmart his enemies during the clutch. Speaking of good ability usage, if you want to master your main agents and learn how to use their abilities like the pros, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you everything you need to blast through the rankings in Valorant. The link will be provided in the description below. Speaking of satchels, HIKO uses raised satchels in a very simplistic manner to throw off his enemies. While people love seeing the double satchel plays, HIKO uses the satchels to do slight maneuvers to distort and confuse his enemies. In this clip here, he uses the first satchel to try to do chip damage onto the enemy. From there, he uses his second satchel to 1. Change up his position, and 2. To throw off the enemy's vision with a blast pack animation and have TSM question where he might have jumped onto. This play ends up a little messy, but because TSM had to consider the satchels, their attention was split and allowed HIKO to peek and grab a pick and put himself in another 1 versus 1 situation, and he finishes the clutch. Another example is in this clip with Yoru. HIKO ends up grabbing a frag on the B site, and because of this, the enemy decides to go to A, thinking that it's free for the taking. However, HIKO had actually placed a gate crash towards the A site in case the enemy was to make that play. He expects it coming after the enemy saw him at B, and because he was prepared for it, he teleports over to A and picks off the enemy players as they were trying to rotate, thinking that the site should be clear. There are multiple tricks that HIKO knows, but we're going to leave you with another simple one that you can do if the situation is right. In this clip, HIKO's position gets revealed and he wins a duel but ends up on very low health. With his location known and with low health, HIKO knows his best chance of winning the round is by stalling the defuse with his shock darts. This is particularly the right play here because the enemy Jet was trying to defuse the spike while smoking it off. The shock dart guarantees the hit and gives a higher chance of winning the round versus trying to spam the smoke and risk getting wallbanged. HIKO does just that and ends up killing the diffuser and stalling just enough that the spike couldn't be defused, and he clutches out the round. When maining an agent, we highly suggest learning the unique ways that you can use the agent's abilities so that you have multiple ways that you can outplay your opponents when the time is right. We have 2 more tips for you in this video that will really take you to another level during your clutches. When clutching a round, particularly a round where you're at a man disadvantage, you're going to need to take aggressive risks. If you play standard, it's very easy for the enemy to do a coordinated push and kill you from multiple angles. Unless the enemy grants you the 1 versus 1s that we talked about before, your odds of winning are slim to none. Because of that, in clutch situations, being unpredictable is extremely valuable and allows you to make plays that can better help you even the odds. We do want to emphasize that these are risks and they may not be a good idea to do in a normal round, but when clutching, they can be quite useful. In this clip against TSM, HIKO is in a 1 versus 2 situation, and because U-Haul is smoked off, TSM doesn't expect someone to push through that, and because of that, HIKO does exactly that and pushes through the smoke to catch Raze in the middle of reloading. You can see that such a play wouldn't be wise in a normal circumstance, but because it's a clutch and HIKO needs to go for a surprise play, it ends up being worthwhile and pays off. From there, HIKO makes it a 1 versus 1 and uses his recon bolt to scan out players near the spike. Since the recon didn't reveal anything, it's very likely the last player is going to be Showers, and knowing that he's close by, HIKO's best chance of winning the round is to fake a defuse and hope the enemy peeks him. He does just that and gets that final duel he needed to clutch out this round as well. You can see how these aggressive risks can completely catch a player off guard and help decrease the man disadvantage that you're currently at during a clutch. Being unpredictable is a great way to turn the odds in your favor, and not only will they be great during a clutch, but they're also great for tilting the enemy as they question why he went for such a bold play. Last but not least, we have arguably one of the biggest ways that HIKO clutches his rounds. With all these tips we just mentioned, none of it really matters if the enemy team plays their cards right and positions themselves in a coordinated manner that guarantees your death. In order for a clutch round to be possible, the enemy really has to make mistakes, and if they do, you have to capitalize on it. Particularly if you make a mistake against HIKO, he will punish you for it. If you go back into the clips that we showed, you can see that HIKO does outplay the enemy, but the enemies made mistakes that allowed that outplay to be possible. In an earlier clutch we showed, HIKO was granted 2 initial 1 versus 1s and won them. From there, we see that the enemy Phoenix and Sova are very close by and could have easily double peeked the position that HIKO was at. Had this been done, HIKO would have stood no chance and likely would have lost the round. Instead, TSM grants him the 4 1 versus 1 duels that he was looking for to clutch up the round. To give a refresher clip, HIKO is in a 1 versus 3 here and gets a free 1 versus versus 1 duel while being wide open. If we look at the positions of the other 2 Dignitas players, they could have easily swung with them to get a trade kill, but they didn't, and HIKO grabs the kill for free and makes it a 1 versus 2. From there, HIKO just manages to plant the spike, and the enemy makes another crucial mistake where the Cypher tries to go jumping for a classic kill on the site, but he neglects the left corner that HIKO is at and gives himself up for free, making it a quick 1 versus 1, which HIKO manages to win again. Enemy mistakes, while uncontrollable on your end, are part of what makes a clutch possible, and if HIKO is on the other end, you know he will run away with it and clutch the round out. We wanted to wrap up the guide here because while all the tips we discuss are hugely important for clutching up a round, if the enemy team plays things perfectly, the clutch won't be possible. And from there, if you don't take advantage of the mistakes that are made, you'll also find yourself having a very hard time winning the clutch. HIKO does all of this, and his insane mechanics has clutched him numerous crucial rounds in his career. By practicing your own mechanics along with the same tricks that HIKO uses, you too will be able to clutch similar rounds out. Alright, so which agent do you feel has the highest clutch potential? Make sure to leave a comment below if you haven't already, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.